to 7 Peaks Software. It's been a while we don't see each other in a person in a long time, but we always organizing the webinar to keep sharing the interesting topic and the knowledge to the societies. And it's great that we can start organizing the meeting in a lineup, social distancing and safety. Yeah. So someone know who we are, but someone might not know who we are. So we are 7 Peaks Software and design agency based in Bangkok, but we are originally from Norway. So we started in Norway since 2009, and after that we moved to Bangkok since 2014. So today we are in Thailand for more than 7 years nowadays, working with different clients, international clients, and also Thai clients with different industries like telecoms, e-commerce, retail, banking, and insurance. Yeah. You can easily to find that on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. You can click follow, and yeah, we are also keep updating the upcoming meetup and the internal activities and the opportunity in there. Okay, so this is a few pictures from indoor and outdoor activity. So people in 7 Peaks Software not just only good at coding or technical skill, but we are good at everything. We are always organize the activity to raise people at 7 Peak Fund. So yeah, please join with 7 Peak Software. So we are also doing a lot of sport too. We have a small group to like play e-sport together, badminton together, and running together. Yeah, and we are also eat a lot too. Every day, and when you come to the office, we will have like snack and drink free every day. And every Tuesday and Thursday, we will provide free lunch every Tuesday and Thursday. And occasionally, we have like wine sessions, barbecue sessions, cooking sessions, and also bar beer. And you can drink every Friday, like unlimited. Yeah, and if you are who are the one is interested to join with 7 Peaks Software, we are always open a lot of positions like head of backend, tech lead, and frontend React. Yeah, you can send the resume or CV to job at 7 Peaks Software or contact me or TA staff directly. So yeah, please scan this QR code to see the upcoming event and the activities and also job opportunity in there. So yeah, thank you for coming today again. And today we will be talking about cutting edge development with new React. So I would like to invite the first speaker is Pinon Ka.
So thank you for introduction. I'm Patcharanon. I'm a web developer here in 7 Peaks. And today I'm going to be talking about new React 18. It's the latest major update on the major update on the latest JavaScript UI library. Okay. So introduction. So what is React? React is a JavaScript UI library. You write code and you so it's a JavaScript UI library. You write the code and it renders. So it renders and renders your UI. Yeah. And it's declarative. So how you write the code, it's like human language. You can write it and it's more easy to read. And it's component based, so it's like building blocks, right? So these are the topics I'm going to talk about today. It's first one is upgrading, how you change, upgrade to React 18, automatic batching with feature, and the strict mode updates, the key concepts of concurrency, new hooks that is included, and suspense, and a little bit about the server backgrounds, server updates. So upgrading to React 18, what has changed? What changes you need to make? Right? So you need to first install, update your React dependencies, so React 18 and React DOM at 18. You need to import the React DOM from React DOM/client. This is for the client side. You need to call React DOM create root instead of the old one, which is just the React DOM.render. The new one you need to create root before you call .render. And this is a change for the server side rendering. You need to call the hydrate root, import it from React DOM / I think it's /server, sorry, it's a bit of a mistake, and you call React DOM.hydrate root. For this one, you don't need to create the root like the client side one. And I'm going to talk about some changes on TypeScript for React 18. So before the children props, it was required from React 18 prior onwards. After this, it's like some controversy for a long time that the children props in React, should it be like optional or not? Then now currently it's an optional type for React components, and you can render undefined in React components now in React 18. So automatic batching. What is automatic batching? Automatic batching is it's an improvement in React that it will help on the rendering. What it does, it batches the state updates in React. So they run like all in the same time. They don't re-render each time it gets updated. So before, for example, the handle click here, as you see, this one, before React would render 3 times, yeah. So after set counter, renders once, set active, renders another time, and then set value, it renders the 3rd time. But after an update, I think it was before 18, it renders everything at once. For asynchronous tasks, setting states updates in the synchronous task, it will re-render before React 18, but after React 18, there's automatic batching, so it renders only one time. That will improve the re-rendering process. But what if you want to opt out this behavior? If you have, if it's not what you designed and want it to be, you can use flash using to make it re-render. So what you do is just call the flash tracing and pass the callback to do your state updates in here, and it will re-render. After it will render on the state update, you pass in the flash tracing. And about the batching, if you try React 18, you might find out that it would still re-render many times, and you might wonder why. This is because of the new update on the strict mode component. The strict mode, this updated behavior, it would ensure some more re-rendering on to. This is for development only, and it will what's changed is that it will re-render another time in strict mode. This is to check on some errors that you might be implementing, and it will warn you on the errors. Yep. And you can remove the strict mode, or in production, if you build it in production, it will not affect the re-rendering. So let's talk about concurrency. This concurrency update in React 18. I'm going to talk about the story concept of concurrency. It has been in 2,161 days since the concept of concurrency, and the React team has implemented and worked on this. So since 2016, you know that so JavaScript, what JavaScript does is run on one main thread, and it synchronously does this, and it's not interruptible. And so when React renders, React is JavaScript, right? And when React renders, and you want to interrupt it somehow. Let's say if you have that picture in mind, that you create an app that there's a search box, and you would want to type and then search for the items. So React you would set the state for the input, right? And with that input, you would search the items and list it out. So what React does, it will just set the input, and then you set that query to get the items, and you cannot interrupt that. So they would, and this would mean you would re-render every time. The React team has worked on this to make it more responsive. So, after some time, the team find a way to differentiate between the hyper tasks. So the key inputs you type to search for the search input, and the lower priority task in my example, which is the querying or getting of the list of items. Yep. They announce React Fiber. What is React Fiber? So it's a work on the operators like inside the React library, So they want to improve the behind-the-scenes operating power plants, and they launched the React 16. This is some story history about it. There's a concept. After that, they were calling it async rendering in React. So it's mentioned by Dan Abramov. You can see. Later, they rebrand it and say it's the concurrent in React. And then they call it concurrent mode in 2019, which you can opt in concurrent features, but you would then need to use all the features in there. You cannot avoid anything. So as you can see, the concurrent mode need to create the loop. This one, it was experimental before, and you need to use it. It means your app uses all the concurrency features. And from React 18 onwards, they mentioned that there's no more concurrent mode. But it's more gradually adopting the concurrent features, and you can use concurrent features on any part that you want to use in the app. This is a little bit of a video, but it does work. So, okay, I'm going to talk about this example. So, you think? So, in this example, I want to do a phone call. I want to call Alice, and I want to chat with Paul. You think this is concurrent? And one. This is concurrent? No, right? So, yeah, this is not concurrent. And what about this one? You think it's concurrent? This is I'm calling with Alice, chatting with Alice, and then in the meanwhile, I just call Bob also. Is it concurrent? Right. So, do you think it has to be me always talking to both of them, or it's okay to switch between them? Do you think which one is concurrent? Do you think the first one or the second one? So, concurrent, actually, it doesn't mean that you need to interact all the time with one of them. You can switch between the two of them. So, in that example, so I reflect it. I want to explain it as in the application, if how concurrency would work, is that when you type an input, and then, for example, there's a search query from that input, right? But then, in the meantime, you would search for that query, but then during that time, you would want to type another input again. So this is concurrent. So the concept of concurrent from React, they want to run the UI is to emphasize that they want to run the UI smoothly with concurrent state updates. It does. So what you want the user experience to look like, the React will handle this. So this is what we have designed the application. And in in this update, they don't want it's designed to be that it's not hard for the developers to use it. The developers don't have to think much of these features. It's mostly implemented in behind the scenes. So it's a great thing for the application developers. It might be a little bit different story for the library maintainers. And so React 18 is the foundation of concurrent features. So I'll talk about new hooks in React 18. So let's hook in. The main ones is start transition and use transition. So use transition is the hook that this will return the array of the pending state and start transition function, and we use it to prioritize which state update we want to lower the prioritize. And the second one I'm going to talk about use deferred value. It's used to defer some expensive computation values, and there's some other hooks. You can see that it's but these ones are more for the developers of the library, not much of the application devs. So use ID. This one will create some unique ID. Can be used for building the accessible forms and using storage store. This allows the store operator to support concurrent reads. It will force the update of the store to be synchronous and use insert effect. This will allow CSS and JS library to address performance issue of interchange styles. Okay, this is an example of the use transition hook. So you have is pending here. You get from the hook use transition and start transition. You get from the hook, and then this is how you use it to lower prioritize the state update. So in this example, we want to lower prioritize the set count. So if there's another, I think this is not quite a great example. Because you have only one set state here, but if you have another set state that is more important, for example, if I go back to the search input typing and listing the items, I would lower prioritize the queuing of the items, right? So queuing of the items, I don't want to call this off every time, but I want to lower prioritize it and wait for the input set state. So when you type, you set state for the input, and then the set state of the querying of the list of items, you wait for that. So that's a use case you can use for it. So what is the difference? How is it different from the bouncing or set timeout? So start transition, it executes immediately, not like set timeout. You have to wait for the amount of time you set, and set timeout is guaranteed delay, but start transition is depends on the speed of the device or the urgent window, and start start transition can be interrupted. It's not like just set timeout, because in the end, the set timeout will run. For if you set timeout, you will not React will not know about it, so it cannot optimize for the asynchronous waiting on set timeout. So React can, for start transition, React can track on the pending state. So the next one I'm going to talk about is suspense. So suspense is like you wait. It's more like you wait for something like something scary or interesting, right? So suspense. Has anyone used suspense in here? No? So suspense. So what is suspense? Suspense is a component that would how it works. It would it would observe, catch data fetching and changes on the lazy load import, the dynamic import or lazy loading from React. So in this case, you see this one. They use the dynamic import with React.lazy, and they use the suspense with the fallback. So when if this other component right here is not completely loaded, so it would show the fallback here. So it would detect that the import is not completed yet, and it will show the spinner here. And for data fetching, if you do fetch something or you use something like query or relay, and you would have the data fetching going on, then suspense will detect the data fetching and wait for it until the asynchronous calls are resolved. In another one, from suspense, you have suspense list as well, which would have the same behavior, but you can specify something more. There's the review order props and the tail props. So review order props is, it would this is just the review order of the items inside the suspense list. So if you can specify together or forward or backward, and it would render accordingly to what we specify after the synchronous call or the lazy loading is finished. And that's the tail props here as well. That is for specifying how the fallback of the suspense will work. You can specify that the fallback will not show, or the fallback will show only the next one, or the default behavior is it will show all of the component fallbacks. And I'm going to the next one is going to talk about is some about the server sides a little bit. It's a little bit here about the suspense that in React 18 is now support in the server side rendering. There's some API updates on for server side rendering. This is render with eyeball stream for streaming your environments and render to readable stream. This is for like modern age runtime environments. There are no Cloudflare workers, and the deprecation of render to stream. Yeah, it's still working, but it's not recommended to be used. The render to stream. So what's next in React? So that's the off-stream component they mentioned, which is this would save the state before you navigate to next page, and when you come back to the same page, it would still save the state prior to what you had before. They are working on this and some several components. You can go research on the several components. It's a working development. So these are some resources I use. There's a bit more. If you want something specifically, you can let me know. So thank you for your attention. If you guys have any questions or React Native? If there's no question, I'll pass to the next speaker. Eli.
Good evening, everyone. Today I will be talking about with the next generation frontend tooling. So my name is Kornkanok Liengsaengthong. I'm a frontend developer here. So the topics I will cover are the introduction for you and then module bundler, and then we will talk about it and why we use it, and then some comparison to the React app, and then we will go to some basic features, and then talk about the feature of this module bundler. So let's get into the introduction. In the old day when we use the HTML and CSS and the JavaScript to build the website, we only use some script tag, and it's very when this. But today no one just use this. We will move it. We will instead using maybe like TypeScript or some library like React, and using dependencies like Dash. And also if we have a lot of dependency in our module, it will look like this, very long. So how does the browser handle it? As I told you before, we don't have the support for the ES module. And basically, ES module is just the import and export statement on the top of our React file, right? So here, some, especially a modern browser, we support maybe like Chrome we're using. The browser can already read the import and export statement. And in the script tag, if we just type in type equal to module, the browser understands that we running the import. Hi mom, something like this. You can just run this. Okay. So, and what is module bundler? If you this I will cover Webpack and grow up and read. So as I told you, the module in the our dependency, if we just import, for example, import something from React, and it cannot know where to find it because it doesn't know the npm and module. So we module bundler will cover everything and just combine and compile all the JavaScript code and maybe some CSS, transform it into one JS file. So we usually see it as bundle. So what is the difference between with and normal JavaScript based bundler? Is that with claim that it is the instance server start and it's very fast and lightning. That's the fast update of the hot module replacement, and all the features like TypeScript and JSX and CSS can be done out of the box if we just install it. And it provides you auto-optimized view as well. Also a lot of plugins and APIs. So let's look at how it does it. So basically, With is a new tool, and it's trying to solve the problem when if you maybe have a very large project and you have to bundle the codes, and before when you develop something and you control and save it, it will wait for some time, maybe up to 1 minute, right? You can see something updates on the screen, and the server will spin up. So it is trying to minimize the time when you running in the server by separate the module in the application into two parts. First is the dependencies and then the source code. Okay, so for dependency is use the ES-View. Anyone know what ES-View is? Okay, so it's one of the view tool written in Go, and it's said that it's very fast, like 10 to 1,000 times faster than JavaScript. So we will use this to pre-bundle all the dependencies. The reason why it's just pre-bundle is because dependency when we install, we don't really change it, and we really go into each of the files to change it, right? Just install and use it. So here is how fast ES-View is, like really fast compared to maybe Webpack 5 or what. Okay, now next is the source code part. This one they will use the native ESM. So right now in the modern browser, as I told you, it supports the native ESM, which is the ES module. This will help init, you use this to serve the source code to our network tab. Okay. And it also support module replacement as well, just like Webpack does. And last thing is if you bundle your code using rollup in the production. Okay. So normally when the first feature, if you use button-based tool, you will have to go to its entry, right, which is like index.js, and then go to every route you have and every module that you're using. And then it will bundle it before you can see start in the server or your local host. But native ESM, the one that we use in the source code, we will just start your server first, and then it will let your browser do everything for you. It will just go into the code part that you're using. For example, you have like home page or about. If you just looking at the home page, it will just render all the code that you use in the home page only. So this is why it's very fast, faster than normal V2. Okay. And also it has some benefit of use some caching. We will have some 2 layer of caching, which is in the file system and also in browser cache. We will look at it later. Okay. So next I will do some comparison. Okay, so I just have empty project for, and then I will do create for CRA. Next, I will use it to get the React as well. I will use the command latest because I want the latest version. And it. I don't spell it wrong. Okay, let's start. Enter this one and this. So we will let you choose. I will choose that and just normal React. And next we have to go to the folder. The difference is that you have to npm but create React app will npm install for you. Now you can see that it is already finished. So let's look at why the create React app still installing. So inside the React, it has very minimal dependency, you can see. So that's why it's very fast just to run the React app. My computer is freezing actually. I will start again. Well, okay, if I restart again, actually you can try just like I did. If you just run like really slower than it does, if you try yourself. So Okay, let's not waste time trying again. Okay, I will continue. Let you see the dependency in the CIA. You can see that it has some stuff in there, and oh, so sorry. Okay. Okay, so let's look at React Hub. It's more heavy than the white, the lit one. So it's just like 47 megabytes. And I will show you so on the left side I have the React app, okay, and I have to start it. And then the right side I will do, oh I forgot to tell you, if you want to run the dev environment, you just npm run dev. As you know that our default port is 3000 and it is of course also the 3000, so I will change. So here is like normal code bundle of config. It's used with the default is called with config.js, and we will set for 3001 and let it open when it's finished. So let's see which one will start first. We will go with the React app first. So as you can see, we take a bit of time to run the 3000, which is the React app, and this one just run like instantly, really fast. Okay, so I will start this, and then let's compare how the button file looks like in the React app. Maybe I think if you using it, you know that it's bundled into one single file, like transform CSS and or the JavaScript, and inside is it's like combining mapping all the part in your code, in your source code, and finally makes a string like really long and like this. So but in which you can see, I will okay. Here is the interesting part is that you can see each of the file, and it has something that you also do modify for you. So this is where the ES module takes part, because it's help you running each of the file without binding. So you can see. For example, like after CSS, you can see that it's served each file in the HTTP request using the ES module. Okay. Okay. So this pretty much the comparison for this. But if you have a like very big project, you can actually see the difference. Also that the start server maybe if you try this at home, you can maybe do some change and let it reload. Actually, if you if I show this, it's not like very obvious, but if you try to run it on your computer, you click and save. It's like load very fast, faster than the app one. Okay. And for the build, let's try to run. This one also use view as well. Okay. To compare the size between the view folder and this, it's also very lightweight. Okay. So I will go back to my slide to let you know. As you can see, Webpack has just one button, .js file, right? That's the video network tab. That means it's do the calling and do contract everything in your code and just put in the one JavaScript file. So it will take time because of this. Even especially if you have a lot of code and large file, large project, you can see how very slow it is when you run. And for with it doesn't. It's not that way because it's only run when you import the file. It's run only part when you use it. Okay. So, but the main comparison here is that Webpack is that when in the old day when the browser don't support the ES module, right? So that's why it support now it support ES module and all the, for example, common JS and for the old module in the JavaScript, but we just focus on the ES module. And the developer, which use Webpack inside, you use the space to run the web server, but in with is use ES native ES module and run it with code. For the production build, Webpack is using its own Webpack, but with using rollup. Okay, this one I will already show you how to install all the with and choose your template. As you can see, when I first install it, you can choose a lot of templates like Vanilla.js or Vue or React. So it makes it very simple, very easy. You don't have to like configure it from the scratch. But you can also make it from the scratch as well if you want. So here are the main script. And the difference is that we will consider the index.html and run it, but outside the public. So I will post the app now so you can see the index.html is here and with the skip time module. So of course it has feature to transfer the JSX file using ESView. Some other feature, for example, if you can configure, you don't have to write the import statement, and it very fast, right? You can just do config using the ESView config and just using this command. Okay, let's look at this. Like this one, I used the framework to create the app. I didn't build from the scratch, so you can see it's already covered for you. When you don't have to actually import the React. Okay. And the next thing is it's very easy to use TypeScript. You don't have to do any config, just like it. And it's also transfer the TypeScript very fast also because it uses ESView and it makes it like 20, 30 times faster. The reason why it's fast because it doesn't perform the type checking because UID, mostly UID use it for you. You just transfer your Java typescript into JavaScript. Okay, so if you wonder if you want to use the SCSS, you can just say npm add that. So now let's see if we can use. I will change the file extension. So in the with config, you don't have to install any more loaders or plugin. You can just use it. So this is like very easy. I will just maybe change the background to red, so you can see. So this is some cool feature because it's different than the Webpack. In Webpack, you have to install at least 3 loaders to make it work, right? But this one just supports it out of the box. Even if I click on the inspect and I can change color to maybe green, you can see that it's not reloading if I change color. Okay, this one just not reload at all because it also has two of the good thing in this feature is that it supports CSS hot updating and also in JSX, we can just change state. If I put some more character here, it will not reload because it's also support. It has hot module reload. Here you can see the page is not reload at all. So this feature is just like in the React, but it's way faster. The next thing, if you just like normal bundling, right, you can set your resolve areas and it will work for you instead of putting /sort in every file, something like this. Okay, maybe next thing I will install a dependency. So you can see install I will run that in here. We don't actually use that here, right? And as I said, it will cast all your dependency, but it's also this is why the reason is fast because it's not running the one that you're not using in the network tab. So if I import, if I want to use it, the list will just know by the import statement. So if I import it, you can see here. Here is where it's bundle. It's bundling everything using ESView in here. So here is actually the your dash dependency. If I enable cache, you can see that it's using your dash from this cache. So every time when you change code, you don't have to wait for your tool to bundle your dependency again. This also applies to your source code as well. But I just show you some basic first. And also here, if you hover it, you can see it's using some node module /some.with. So we actually did some caching for this Lodash and put it in like map file and make hash for it. And the second level of the caching is if you look at the header and you can see here, it's actually puts the cache for you. So here Lodash doesn't make any a lot more bundle for you when you use it. So that's why I make it really fast. Then you can focus on your actual source code, like when you write on your React component. I hope you understand that's why it's so fast. Okay. Let's move to if you want to build your project. Some like basic feature, you can just we already built change color so by changing, and you can see the production one using run preview. So here is the production one. So with this using roll up instead of ESView in the production environment. So this will just like bundle like normal using this. It at the end it will show one JavaScript file. Also, you can always configure it just like Webpack. You use just view, and you can change from the default this model to like something that you can name it like view if you want. Okay, and it also has support to something like plugin. As I said, if you blow up plugin in the production view, right? So that means with is the superset of the of roll up. It has its own plugin as well, and you can always use the roll up plugin. But before you use it, you have to check if it's compatible between it and roll up, because like not all the plugin you can use, but mostly you can. Okay. Let's do something like maybe if you use Webpack, you can see it has some source map option. Here it also has it. You want to use. Then I will run the view again. And if you see people. Here it can suppress your audio code, make it lighter. But if you want to make it like debuggable, more look more like original code, you can also set it in your config. I will run again and let you see. Okay, so now I run the source map in line. And you can see source code actually like lookable and easy to debug, just like when you use Webpack. Okay. So this is like pretty much all the cool features that I want to show you. The next thing. Okay. So what is the feature of it? Maybe if you listen until here, you may wonder why, if the ES build is really fast, why we still not use it for the production, right? Actually, they are trying to migrate and using it instead of blow up, but there are some of the application features that are still in progress. Maybe in the future we can see with using or everything with ES build. But for now, the roll up is like more mature and flexible to config. Okay, and also right now it supports SSR, but really low level features. So in the future, maybe it will support more. Okay. Here, let's look at the red line for width. Actually, it has some slope up, but if you see here, right, that Webpack is really popular, and then roll up, and then yes, these two is like the thing that we use. It's getting, but it is like getting very popular these days. If you don't look at the graph and then come to here at the start, you can see it's very popular. Even if it's just 2 years ago when it first hit, it's getting very popular. So maybe in the future, a lot of developers will come and help develop with some issue for this. Okay, so I think I cover almost everything, maybe basic thing to understand. So thank you. You can try use it very fast. Do you have any questions? You can ask. Anyone have questions? Okay, but if not, then let's copy within. Okay. Thank you.
Hello. Oh, now this machine is freezing.
Okay guys, I will take my laptop, we'll present from my laptop. Give me a second.
Please feel free to get something to drink in the back while we are fixing this.
So, first of all, I'm really happy to see you all here in person. So I'm a little bit tired of these online webinars. Very nice to see so much people here. So I would like to talk about component library. So if you work in a company like ours, when you have a lot of projects, someday you decide to utilize some component and reuse them in projects to save some time and to basically focus on really interesting part, not repeat one component many times. So using component library, like private component library, is one of the choice to do this. In this presentation, I will not go to technical details. You can Google it. There is plenty of articles how to really set up all configuration and all stuff. I will focus on what technology we are using in 7.6, our component library, and what we really need to focus on when you create these libraries. Okay, so what tools are we using? Emotion, TypeScript, frontend, rollup, storybook. So when you start component library, it's not really convenient to use like Create React app or I don't know, like framework like Next.js. It's really convenient to build configuration by yourself. You build configuration, and that's what we using for create build configuration. I will go details one by one. So Motion, right? It's CSS and JS library. Very nice library where you basically can handle your CSS file as a JavaScript. So as you see here, right? It's text basically. And you can use variables from React. You can use functions. You can create like factory for create CSS. It's really powerful, And as you see, it's really close to CSS. So basically, you just set up CSS property, write your CSS, and that's it. Babel. Pretty sure a lot of people familiar with Babel. Basically, transformation builder tool. So what you do is transform syntax, right? For like before we do transform syntax, modern syntax to old browser. This tool you need. You can transform Java JSX. So basically, you can build React application using only Babel. So polyfill as well, very nice features. And can source code transformation. So basically, we using Babel to build JSX for our components and for make some transformation that required by emotion. It's not really required, but if you did not do it in every emotion file, you need to basically write this one, right? JSX import this one, where you want to use this. But with Babel, we can set up rule, and we just can add it everywhere automatically without like any problem. There is plugins for emotion, so kind of you don't really need to write any code. You just install plugin and it works. Storybook, this is important. When you create components, documentation becomes really important. So it's not enough to just create your fancy component. You need to share with other developers how to use it. With use case, with examples. And Storybook is a really nice tool to create documentation. Basically build it to create components in this edition. So you can create, instead of putting your component somewhere on the page, you can just create it here. Fully isolated way. And it's automatically create documentation for you. So it's really easy to use, really convenient, and yeah, this one kind of must in your component library. Rollup, right? Today we talk about rollup. So we are using rollup for bundling in component library. And why? Why we doing this? Why we don't use other bundlers? So first, we can, in one go, we can create several bundles. Later I will explain why we create several bundles in one go. Like CommonJS in ES module, yes. And also support tree shaking. What's tree shaking? Basically, if you do not use some function, it's removed from the bundle. So it's optimize size quite a lot. Okay. Yeah. Why we need ES module together with CommonJS? So basically, as previous speaker said, ES module is kind of standard. Now it's modern, so all browsers support it. It's kind of need to use it. Also, tree shaking optimization work only for not only, but work properly for only ES module. You can ask why we need CommonJS module then. Why we don't use just ES module? Problem is that JS is run on Node. So if you want to run some test with your component, you need to expose your cannot use exports from ES module. You need to use normal CommonJS module to be imported inside the JS. So yeah, that's why we're using two modules there, two bundles there. One is ES, one is CommonJS. Okay, so this is our technology basically, and what really we need focus on when you create our own component libraries. What is important part? Okay, you saw this picture already today, right? So, most important part, I think, is package size. You cannot like randomly put stuff in your dependency to make simple stuff. For example, Moment.js, right? I hope nobody used Moment.js anymore because of the size. Because we rarely use only format options that can be written in pure JavaScript without any libraries. Or we have Day.js, right? Yeah. It's much smaller and very convenient to use. Personally, I prefer not to put anything in dependency if it's possible. So as lower you have in dependency, better. Why so? Because your component library going to use in a lot of projects. It means if you have something here in dependency, this dependency appears in your project. So you need to support it. You need to update it. When we migrate from React 17 to React 18, we need to make sure that all these libraries support React 18. This is kind of important part. So as less you have in your dependency, better. So what about React and React DOM? Or library like for sure you will use in your top level application. Like for example, for us it's React Router. Like we're using React Router, so we put it pure dependency. So what is pure dependency? It's basically not included bundle of this package. It will be loaded from the parent project. So when inside your library, when you put pure dependency, this kind of dependency should appear in the parent project. Like React DOM definitely should be inside the pure dependency. If you use React, obviously. If you use other libraries, kind of, this is good place to put it. Again, it's if you write libraries that not really component libraries that not really depend of view libraries that you use, it's kind of up to you what to put here, but it's very, very powerful stuff. So just by moving from dependency to pure dependency, you can really save a lot of kilobytes, even megabytes sometimes. Okay, dev dependency. All built-in tools like Storybook, like ESBuild, like Rollup should be in dev dependency. Never put build tool that should not be inside there. Basically, if you're not importing in your code, not put it in dependency. All this put in dev dependency. Right. Okay, reusable components important as well. We cannot put random stuff in our library. We need to make sure that component is reusable. So basically, we cannot really take nice component from the project, just copy paste it inside the library and just be happy. It not work like this. So don't add two components with too narrow use cases. If it's really can use only in one particular place, better not to put it. Better not. Nobody will use it and never. Also, make sure that your components in library configurable. So it's not like kind of UI, kind of maybe some even business logic. Can more configuration you have, better, I think, for components. So it's really can be reuseful. Okay, documentation, as I said before, documentation is essential for component library. If you don't have documentation, nobody knows that you have components, basically, what kind of components you have, how they use it. This is important. Also, when you create components, I really recommend you follow what's called atomic design. Yeah. So start with smallest possible components, increase, and come to some kind of bigger component. Okay. Again, minimal required React version. So basically, when you set React version, not select particular version. What does it mean? It means if you put React 18 and you don't really use in your library features of React 18, I mean, it cannot be used in projects that use React with lower version. So what I recommend you, select version minimal you use in your all projects and just put it here. Because probably you don't need much features from React. Kind of minimal required version and put more than this version as a pure dependency. So it will work with all version after this, because most of React version backward compatible. Right. Okay. Quality. So because you're going to use components in a lot of projects, then quality becomes very, very important. I mean, if you have one bug in your component and you use it in 20 projects, you have 20 bugs in your project. This is kind of important. So make sure when you create component, make sure it's covered by unit tests, so it works as expected. Make sure it's pass proper QA. And only after that it's passed, you create new version, you deploy it, and you can use it in your projects. Okay. Also, kind of when we use, when we work with component library, we already created, let's say, and it's not like work not finished after you create it. You always set new component, always do some stuff. So basically, this is 5 common activities you always do. First you create component, after that you update and deploy documentation. After that you test, after that you release new version, and after that you just check it. Is it works? Is it like released, ready? Is it good? So here in this step, without DevOps, probably it will be very hard. So it's not essential, but it saves a lot of time if you have proper pipelines, proper DevOps scenario, proper DevOps process, let's say like this, for doing this stuff. Because you will repeat. And if you optimize this, you save a lot of time. Yeah? That's it, basically, what I want to say to you. Any questions? No? No? No questions?
I have one question.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you mentioned.
Can you use this microphone?
You mentioned at the beginning that way of doing this is best when using Next. Why best when using Next?
No, because it's kind of component library, right?
Yeah.
You cannot use server-side framework for build component library, obviously. It's kind of components that works framework ambivalent. I mean, in perfect world, kind of your components can be reused in every possible technology in perfect component library, obviously. Of course, we focus on React because in 7px we mostly do in React. So that's why we use React as a view framework. Yeah. But next and create React app, probably not good choice. Create React app you can do if you don't use, for example, somehow you hate Storybook and you want to spend some time on creating documentation. You basically can use create React app and you can write your Storybook functional by yourself, basically. But as I said, documentation you need to do. So if you choose like this, you can do it. Yeah. Any more? Okay. So guys, thank you very much for coming. we would like to hear feedback from you. It's just simple Google form, just fill it. And it helps us to improve our events.
Just to add, thank you guys for coming to our React Meetup. So we love feedback because we would like to make our events better and better. So please give us a feedback, because now if you want to get the free pizza, you need to fill the feedback. So when you go to the kitchen to get the free pizza, please show us the feedback completion page, which is our staff will check there. So yeah, thank you so much for coming. Enjoy the pizza and beers.